If you ask foodies in New York, where's the hottest food scene in the city these days, a lot of them are going to tell you it's right here in Brooklyn. I'm not one to argue, but I don't spend enough time here. I live in Manhattan. Manhattan's enough for me. It's a hard wave to stay ahead of. But Brooklyn is on fire. There's so much talent on this side of the river, it's astonishing. So we try and do at least a show or two a season in Brooklyn. We're here on Court Street in Carroll Gardens, a neighborhood that was really transformed radically about 10, 12 years ago. It's becoming a great restaurant neighborhood. We're here with the two Franks that run Frankie, Spuntino, and Prime Meats. One of the best neighborhoods, one of the best restaurants in Brooklyn. Let's get these guys' story. Have some fun.
This is the money shot. He's doing it right now.
So you guys came in, and what was the idea? From the get-go, you had this sort of idea of what you wanted to do?
To do, kind of extrapolate or, take apart the Italian food thing that we kind of grew up on and then reapproach it as chefs with really good ingredients and then put it back together in a relaxed atmosphere that was as far away from the 3-star Michelin and 4-star experience that we had. And we
were trying to bring like great food, simple food, very approachable, prices, really value oriented, to a place that's not that far away from the city, that's architecturally beautiful, and to a neighborhood that didn't have it.
Celery root, shaved fennel.
Celery root, shaved fennel, parsley leaves, pumpkin seeds, pecorino cheese, olive oil, and lemon juice.
A lot of flavors. Albacore tuna, olive oil, tomatoes, pickled onions, little salad of arugula. Real simple, rustic stuff. Kind of stuff you'd see with some olives roadside anywhere in southern Italy, except for in Brooklyn.
We basically made a menu and designed a menu off of
stuff
that
we would eat
every day.
Every day.
It's a nice sized portion of pasta. This spoons a little of the gravy right over the top. I think at some point we're going to see some cheese applied to this. Little fresh ricotta cheese. It's going to kind of melt in like a little bit of a light fondue there. That's really nice. As you eat it, it kind of dissolves into the pasta, makes it even creamy. And then a little bit of Parmesan Reggiano. Parmesan Reggiano makes all the sense in the world with the ricotta, dairy on dairy.
A little wild mushroom fricassee with a poached egg and some toast. People dig it.
Talk to me about this.
These are pretzel rolls that go with vice versa. Classic dish. Normally supposed to only eat before noon, but we serve it all day. People love it.
What was the idea for Frankie's Prime Meats? What was the scoop?
It all started coming together, like the experience that we had in Germany and the design, and we realized that like places like Lee Chow's and Cajun Toner were great, amazing places, and like that's something that New York doesn't have anymore. So it was an opportunity for us to take that style, that culture, and do what we did with Italian food, which is kind of clean it up a little bit, lighten it up a little bit, make it, use the farm fresh ingredients that we have available to us. So make it like a farm-to-table, dramatic influence restaurant.
Anybody that's been to Alsace, to Colmar, to that part of France knows exactly what this is. Talk to me, chef.
So this is the Circuit Garni. Got some potatoes, You got the knockwurst, the Thuringian sausage. You got some tongue and braised pork belly.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful plate.
Lengthwise sliced bone marrow, so you can really get to the marrow. It's divine, man.
You've got this simple menu that you've streamlined, but you were telling me before. Pretzels are the equivalent of your 5-pan pickup. How many steps to make on a pretzel?
The mixing stage, then you got to scale them out, then you got to roll them, right? Then you got to proof them, then you got to freeze them, and then you bake them. So it's like 5 steps.
This is exactly why people don't make these pretzels every day. That you're gonna find out. This is one pretzel, and away we go.
Yeah. Those are homemade pretzels, the ones we rolled out this afternoon.
I saw these bad boys.
Crispy,
Crunchy.
my sister-in-law just came from Germany. She said the pretzels are better here than they are in Germany.
Something tells me. All right, we're in Brooklyn. We're doing the show. We're in the corner of Bergen and Vanderbilt, and I'm here because the chef, the guy behind us, is Saul Bolton, who has restaurant Saul on Smith Street in Carroll Gardens. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I think our first or second season we featured his restaurant. I thought it was really the best restaurant in the neighborhood back then, a decade ago. He's the man behind this. He's got a couple of partners, great cocktail program, great food. You know, Brooklyn's just on fire. The fact of the matter is, peeps that live here, they don't even come to Manhattan anymore. They don't need to. They come home, everything you need is now in Kings County. You want to eat, you want to drink, you want to shop, it's all here, yeah. Brooklyn in the house. I still like the West Village, but let's go inside, meet Saul, meet the crew, get the scoop. Talk about the food you're doing here. We got the small plate idea, but what, I mean, it's seasonal market driven, but what, you talk, it's your place.
Right. It's incredibly market driven. And a lot of it's defined, like what we do here is define, you know, we have a structure that we sort of came up with at the beginning where we'd have small bites or hors d'oeuvres to start or whatever. Then we'd have a charcuterie section, a meat section, a fish section, a veg section, desserts. And that created the basic structure for the whole thing. As far as what it became, everything becomes what it is when you get your team together. You've got the team, and so much of what this place has become has to do with the team. And the team we have is superb, like off the charts superb. Really first class, professional, passionate, well-trained, badass cooks. And it's a joy. It's been a real joy to watch these guys do. It's like wind them up and they go.
You know, you can never get over pork belly. So good. These, it's just delicious food, man. Crunchy, creamy, porky, pickled ramps. In contrast, get the idea. All right, start wherever you want, sir. You have a customer.
Let's make a julep.
Let's make a julep. Get ready for some noise.
I'm not big in muddling.
So we muddled it with a little smack.
A little smack,
Bruised it.
like what they call spanking the mint. And then you build a little snow cone right on top. So we're gonna go with cognac. Wild Turkey 101 rye is my rye of choice for cocktails. And now my simple syrup is apricot and mint infused already. So you've already got a good, healthy hint of mint and a little bit of apricot nectar. It'll take about a minute and it'll be the perfect
Because
Perfect
booze is an
texture.
antifreeze.
Absolutely.
So you can see it's beginning to get a little bit of liquid on the bottom. It's just wrong. Nowadays, there's been this renaissance of just fabulously like artisan small batch ryes,
Right.
and bitters that people are making in-house, and muddling fresh fruit. You were just talking to your bartender about a drink with
the peach.
Yeah, yeah. He's buying fresh peaches, pitting, muddling them down.
And then it's, as you were saying, it's not always good for everybody's liver, but it's another aspect to dining and being social and actually, you know, having the customer, not necessarily challenging them, but having them be interested a little bit more than just Jack and Coke.
Right.
You know, which there's nothing wrong with a Jack and Coke, but there's other options as well.
House made. They do their own blood sausage. They do their own boudin blanc, the white version of a sausage. They do all their own force meats here. How cool is that? You know, Brooklyn, man. What can I say? I should have moved here 10 years ago when it was cheap. All right, welcome back here. So, Brooklyn. What can you say about Brooklyn? Brooklyn is like it. Brooklyn is like on fire. People used to joke about like the bridge and tunnel crowd. Now the bridge crowd, I think, is coming in from Manhattan to Brooklyn. Brooklyn is about as hot as it gets. It's like our little Portland over here. And those guys are cool. The two Frankies are crazy. So we saw the great little steak place, Frankie's Prime, which I love, this sort of take on a German steaky beer hall. And of course, Spuntino, which is this sort of homage to old-fashioned Italian-American cooking. What we didn't see was desserts. A couple of reasons. I don't know, we either forgot to film it, or the desserts on the menu weren't spot on. And I always find Italians are kind of funny about dessert anyway. Italian-American, I can say this, it's not our specialty. I've never been a big fan of Italian desserts. And as you know from me doing the show, I always sort of, you avoid your weak points, you sort of work around them, so I don't bake a lot. Susan Reed is the baker at King Arthur Flour. She's the author of their newsletter, The Baking Sheet, which is fantastic. If you've never seen it, it's full of recipes and tips. She was a culinary instructor for many, many years, New England Culinary Institute. Yes. Great baker. I've met her on the radio. And so I've enlisted Susan to bake something for us today. And talk about this, because you're going to bake something that, again, it's funny how in life you sort of, you'll go out of your way to not do the things that you're not good at. And one of those things for me is crusts, like pie crusts, tart crusts. Talk a little bit about what you're going to make.
I'm going to make a tart crust that is as tasty as the insides that you put in it. A lot of tarts crusts are there just to move the food from point A to point B. And what I wanted to do was make something that tastes good on its own. And this really does. And I discovered this crust at a restaurant called Avanzari. It was a northern Italian restaurant that I worked at in Chicago. And the pastry chef was really generous and shared this recipe with me. So I've been using it ever since. So.
And you also told me it was kind of easy.
I think if you're afraid of crusts, this is a really good place to start. It's very forgiving.
Good. Let's roll.
Okay.
It's all you. I'm going to step to the side.
Okay.
Tell me what you're doing.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put some flour in this mixing bowl, and I'm going to add some salt and some sugar to it. But measuring flour is the single most important thing that you can do to make your baking better. So you don't want to put too much flour in your recipe. A lot of people will take this and scoop it.
Yeah, talk about this, because it drives me nuts, because sometimes you get recipes and they say it's by measure, like a cup, a half a cup.
Yes.
And that's a relative thing. I mean, I could make a cup of flour by picking this up, or I could tamp it down, in which case it's a cup and a half. So do you prefer volume or weight?
We prefer using a scale because it's by far the most accurate. It's a thin powdery substance, and when it gets landing on the counter, it can get packed down and really condensed. So if you don't have a scale, you should stir the stuff up, sprinkle it into a measuring cup, and then level it off even.
So there's a little air in it. It's light and fluffy.
Exactly. Added a little too much, so we're going to back up. And then we're just going to sprinkle it so we hit 1 3/4. So this is a 1/4 cup of sugar. That's 1 3/4 ounces. Half a teaspoon of salt. So here's the jazz for the rest of this recipe is the zest. I absolutely adore lemon and orange zest.
And this is going to be a big part of the flavor of this.
It is. It's very nice. And it doesn't overpower other things, but it really tastes extremely good. It's too bad you can't smell this.
It's amazing.
It's perfuming our environment.
Actually, my eyes are watering a bit from this. It's like kind of getting, it's like it's a little cloud of this orange misty stuff around
Bringing
us.
tears to your eyes?
Well, yeah. I like chopping an onion.
Now, this is where the rubber meets the road in pastry, when the fat gets introduced to the flour. So I have cold butter here.
And the importance of cold butter. Talk about that.
If this was really soft and greasy, you would have a big fat mess, and it would be tough.
Tough. So people, any time you see a recipe that tells you to use softened butter or liquid or melt the butter, it's crazy because you end up with this dough that's like your shoe.
Yeah, this one is pretty easy because you just add this until it's all in there, and you want this mixture to look a little bit like oatmeal. And the next thing I'm going to add to this is 1 whole egg and 2 egg yolks. And you're going to see the dough just start to come together. Sometimes this needs about a tablespoon of water to come together. Now, you don't want this wet, you just want it to be
Slightly bound.
Yeah.
You can see it's beginning, what's that thing called? Not a whisk, a paddle. If it's beginning, you can see it, how different that is. Perfect.
So what I'm going to do is make this into a nice cylinder. Wrap this up and put it in the refrigerator and or the freezer. We hacked off a chunk from the big log that we had before. So I'm going to unwrap this, zero that out. Bingo. Now I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to roll things. You could do all of this straight with flour, but I believe in a belt and suspenders approach to this. So I'm going to take this piece of parchment, I'm going to sprinkle some flour on it, and then I'm going to just flatten this a little bit.
Already to start to get it into shape.
Yeah, we want it to be roughly circular. This is a food storage bag.
I like this trick.
So you just want to roll from the center to the outside, pivot as many times as you need. Now I'm going to take this tart pan and put my dough onto it.
See, I even get nervous doing stuff like that, like it's going to rip or tear. Or...
Now you want the edges of this to stand up, so I'm going to roll these over flat, and then I'm going to push them back against this edge. You can fill it with fruit, you can fill it with lemon curd and whipped cream and blueberries, you can fill it with We have a cream cheese sour cream filling. It's very easy.
But you'd always blind bake it first?
You would always blind bake it.
This is the docking of the dough.
Yes.
Again, we're putting holes in, steam escapes, keeps it from bubbling up.
You can line this with parchment. Coffee filters work really nicely.
Smart.
And you can put either beans or rice or
Yeah.
something like that. But my favorite toy are these pie weights.
Where'd you get those?
That would be at a certain company in Vermont. It has baking toys.
That's too cool, because there's like clean and you can wash
Well,
them.
and these will also help to cook the dough from the top down.
Because they're hot.
They're stainless, they're hot.
A must-have. It's a Christmas, holiday item, gift thing, I think.
It is. They're.
For the baker that has everything or thinks they have everything.
And you want to make sure that some are up around the edges that are holding the edges flat. And now the steam can escape up through there a little bit. So that's a good thing. There you go.
Off to the oven.
There
Are we
you go.
underneath here?
Yep.
I'm going to put it on the middle. Is that okay with you,
Works
Susan?
with me. It's perfect.
In case the phone rings or I forget or I'm on the internet and I forget, it goes, ding, it's 15 minutes. I love these things. You know what that means? 15 minutes in the oven. Let's check her. Looks like they wanted to rise a little in the middle, didn't it?
It was determined, yes. And you can see it's starting to cook all through here, but there are a few kind of wet spots that we want to give a little more time to. So we're going to pop this back in for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, you can see the little, what's kind of where that butter was.
Yeah.
We saw that sheet.
Yeah.
So 10 more minutes, we'll set the timer. And she'll come out.
So we're
Some
aiming
color.
for GB&D, baby. Golden brown and delicious.
All right, kiddo, what are we going to put in this thing? We had a couple of options. So what's option
Yes.
number one?
The first one we're going to do is the fastest, best tasting, easiest tart filling I know. We teach this on the road in our baking classes when we go out to get people less scared of baking.
Me. Fast and easy and best. This is good. What have we here? Cream cheese?
Yes, 5
Okay.
ounces of cream cheese that is soft. It's at room temperature. And the next thing I'm going to add is a 1/4 cup of sugar. And the whole idea is to get rid of the lumps. You just want this nice and smooth.
Okay.
So after this, we're going to add a little bit of sour cream. This is a 1/4 cup of sour cream.
Available in any supermarket, cream
Yeah.
cheese. I mean, all this stuff easy
Yep.
to get.
And back to our friend the lemon zest.
Yeah, you can't get away. It's big flavors.
Little flavor explosion. So we're going to give that. And we're going to get a little juice out of the
Do
operation.
we want a little,
Here, I'll show you another little trick. Check this out.
Oh, I'm learning today.
If you squeeze this way,
Seeds don't go all over. 53 years I've been doing it the wrong way.
and we're just going to fill this bad boy up. Yeah. Smooth it out. And then we're going to dress the top with fresh fruit. And if you want to get really fancy like a European pastry case, or if you want to do this a little bit in advance,
What brush with?
if you take apricot jam and thin it with a little bit of orange juice and heat it up so it smooths out, and then run it through a strainer. You don't want big globs of jam in here. It will be glistening and gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
All
done.
right, so it's this gorgeous. I mean, just like you'd see for sale at a retail pastry shop. Simple, blind bake, real simple base. Cream cheese, sour cream, sugar, fruit on the top. Done.
Ready to rock and roll.
All right, that's a great little simple dessert. We have part number 2, and we're doing a beautiful little jump on this one. Talk a little bit about what you have in here, because this is like one of you and my favorite things in the world, pastry cream.
Yes. Pastry cream is food for the gods as far as I'm concerned. But this is a great winter tart because you can do this any time of year. What I've done is put one layer of sliced bananas underneath. You can kind of see those
I
in
can
there.
see bananas peeking through.
They are peeking. And now the next fun step is going to be to pour chocolate ganache on top. So this is equal amounts of good bittersweet chocolate and heavy cream. But I want to set off the edges a little bit. So I'm just going to tidy up the edges here and make it look a little more finished. What I'm doing here is literally writing my initial.
I can see that. It's like a little
It's
S.
a little S. But wait,
We're not done yet.
there's more.
There's more, and there is more, and the more is kind of cool.
These are pecans that I put in a saute pan with about 4 tablespoons of butter. Then I add 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, a little bit of water to invert the sugar. And then I got a little cayenne pepper. And these flakes that you have here,
That is a little bit of salt.
that is smoked sea salt.
Sick. Want to cut into one of these?
Sure. Right there in
You
midair.
set that down. I know where they hide the forks around here.
Excellent.
That's super.
Thanks.
That's great. How am I going to store this in the fridge?
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, because there's a dairy component.
Yes.
Really love the bottom part, and the crust is that's great.
It's tasty stuff.
Well, the proof will be if I ever do one of these shows, and I do this at the end, so I'm going to probably have to do that one of these days. Which I mean, practice. But Susan, thanks for coming.
It's really been my pleasure.
And
Thank you.
talk about the baking thing that you do that comes out, like, what is it, once a month? Because I get them in the mail.
It's a subscription newsletter. It comes out every other month, and it's all recipes, no advertisement. And I do recipe makeovers. I have recipes from readers.
Yeah.
I invent. It's all seasonal baking.
There's tips in it. It's really cool, and it's called the baking sheet.
Yes, it is.
All right, find the King Arthur flour. It's cool. I use it all the time. Handy little thing. Comes with those little ring holes in it, so you can put it in a notebook. Smart.
Binder.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Keep up
Yes,
the great work.
really
Enjoy
a
spring
pleasure.
and summer in Vermont.
Yes.
Because winter comes. I know, sometimes.
10 weekends, and then
Yeah, and then in September you can have snow. My brother used to live there for
the
years.
tourists come.
I know, I got to deal with that in Cape May. All right, Brooklyn on fire, really cool. Susan came down to Vermont to help me bake the back end of the show. We'll see you next week.